Hello and welcome. I'm Keegan Hirst and this is the Hirst Locker, the podcast for men who want to build an incredible body, a rock-solid mindset and unstoppable confidence. It's for men who want to live life on their terms and live it to their full potential. I've helped hundreds of men transform their lives, giving them the knowledge, the tools and the self-belief to help them smash through the glass ceiling that stopped them from achieving their dreams. And I want to do the same for you. Now we're going to focus on physical, mental and emotional health, things that affect us as gay men so that we can live life on our terms, build the body that we want and feel confident living that life. I'm going to help you cut through the noise and confusion to give you the confidence and clarity to take action and build the best version of yourself, to give you complete control of your body, your mindset, your habits and ultimately your life. So let's get to it. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Hirst Locker with me, Keegan Hirst. I am going to be speaking to you this week about a story that's been in the papers, a story that I've spoken a bit about. So, just to give you a bit of background, Manly Sea Eagles, who are a rugby league team down in Sydney, down in Australia, their club decided that they were going to swap out the white stripes on the shirt for some rainbow stripes. To be fair, the Manly players were not told about this. They were just going to be playing on it in one of the rounds in the competition. The players found out about it on the Monday as they were due to play on the Thursday against Sydney Roosters, local rivals. And 7 of the players chose to not play. They didn't want to wear that shirt. Regulation rules dictate that you have to all wear the same shirt. And so 7 of them said, we are not going to wear that because it's not in line with our religious and cultural beliefs. So again, just to give you a bit of background on that, I played rugby league with a lot of people from a lot of countries, and rugby league is massive in Australia, and they have a lot of guys who come from New Zealand, the other islands, Fiji, Tonga, Cook Islands, all sorts of guys, lots of Polynesian culture, and a lot of those guys are practicing Christians. Absolutely cool. That is part of Polynesian culture. There's a lot of Polynesian guys who live in Sydney who play professional rugby league. So that's a little bit of background. I was asked on my opinion, and it seems to have been a bit of a contentious issue. And I figured that Twitter is not the place to have these kinds of conversations. These are nuanced conversations where you can't just do it in 180 characters or whatever it is. And so I wanted to talk about what it means or doesn't mean, certainly from the perspective of a gay man, and certainly from the perspective of a gay man who's played professional rugby league, albeit not in Australia, but who's played professional rugby league and has some experience of what would be going on in the changing room, what's historically gone on, and I just wanted to have a chat about it. So, first of all, a big thing that came up on Twitter and comments and backlash was that these are their religious or cultural beliefs and you should leave them alone. We should just accept that. Their beliefs, they're allowed to believe what they want. That is absolute bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. First of all, any wars that have happened in the history of human beings are because one people believed one thing and the others believed another thing. And so they went off and they fought them about it, right? So people don't just accept other people's beliefs. So then you say, oh, we're in 2022. We're in modern society now. That's not the case, but there are, there's right-wing groups that are, the KKK or EDL or, with anti-racial views, beliefs. Do we just sit there and say, okay, that's okay? No, we don't. There's ridiculous people, flat earthers, who think the world is flat. That's their belief. We laugh at them and we say, that's ridiculous. There's political groups that people don't, they are their beliefs. People don't go, oh yeah, well, that's their beliefs. Let's just start. That's not how the world works. So for us, because it's organized religion, we've got to leave that alone. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If their beliefs, and that's not, we're just arguing with someone for the sake of their religion. People can have their faith in whatever they want, whether they're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, whatever they are. Everybody's entitled. That's a person's prerogative to choose to believe or not believe in something. But when those beliefs are counterproductive to the society that we want to live in, that's when it becomes an issue, and that's when we have to stand up and speak to people and speak out about it. Because the issue here is not the rainbow in and of itself. The rainbow is just some colours on a shirt. They already had some colours on a shirt. That's not the issue. The issue is what the rainbow represents. So what does that rainbow represent? It represents the LGBT community, right? So what is the issue then behind that? Is it the people themselves that we have an issue with? Is it being gay that we have the issue with? What is it that is so repugnant about the LGBT community that these players can actively wear a shirt that promotes gambling? They can play in a stadium that advertises drinking, but they can't wear a shirt that represents inclusivity of people who still don't live in a society where they're treated equally. I'm going to get onto that in a little bit, but if you are going to cite religion or your culture as an issue, as the reason, then you can't cherry pick, because there's lots of things. It's certainly, we're taking from the Bible here. So obviously we've spoken about gambling. They're fine with representing that. They're fine with representing drinking. They're fine with having tattoos. You're not supposed to have tattoos. There's other things in the Bible as well. Mixed breed dogs you can't have. You shouldn't wear mixed fabrics. Eating shellfish. I'm sure people are eating shellfish. Working on the Sabbath, on a Sunday. Games are literally on a Sunday. So we're citing religion, but we're just cherry picking the bits that we want to suit us when we meet. That is hypocrisy. And that is the issue here. It's not that someone is religious, because Sonny Bill Williams, who is a legend in rugby league, he's a devout Muslim, right? And from the off, he said, I am not going to play in a shirt that promotes gambling because it's against my religion. From the off, he made that clear. That's absolutely fine. That's between him and the club to then sort out. And he has been consistent with that. He did that at Sydney Roosters. He did it when he went and played in Toronto. He's done it when he's played in France. He's done it at all the clubs that he's been at. So if he was to be asked to wear a Pride shirt and he said, it's against my religious values, as much as I would disagree with the sentiment, at least the guy is consistent. But that's a hypothetical argument. But that is where someone is being consistent, and they're having courage in their conviction to follow their belief systems all the way through, even when it might not be comfortable to do it. That is an example of what that looks like. This that's gone on with Manly is not. Yeah? And I had a tweet that said, well, the difference is some people, sponsors have paid and the rainbow is just going on there. Well, the rainbow, the sponsorship money, doesn't go towards anything that the players do. So are we saying then that if they were paid to wear the rainbow, they'd wear it? Because that doesn't sound like a strong set of beliefs to me. This that's gone on is hypocrisy. It's cherry picking. And that is where people hide behind their religion, their culture, to be homophobic. That is what this is. And the issue is that we have just dug a little bit deeper. People think, I can just cite religion and I can get away with it. If they were consistent, then you're allowed a choice. You are absolutely allowed a choice. You're allowed to make a decision. You are allowed to believe in something. But don't hide behind something else. If you're homophobic, just come out and say that you're homophobic. Don't cite your religion and then not let it impact anything else that's going on in your life, that's going on in the game. That is bullshit. And that gives people who are religious, who are devout, who are consistent with their faith. And I'm not belittling these people's faith, but what I'm saying is there are people out there who are consistent with their faith. And this looks like, people who are religious, they just cherry pick the bits that they do. Because that's not what all religious people are doing. But that's what these guys are doing. So not only is it does it look hypocritical and shit for rugby players, role models, athletes, people that people look up to, people that people aspire to be like? It also looks bad on people with the same religion that they are citing the reason that they can't wear this shirt. So it's twofold. And people, like I just said there, people absolutely have a choice. Whether they play rugby, whether they don't, whether they wear a shirt, whether they don't. You are 100% allowed to make a choice. We live in 2022, especially in developed nations where there's a freedom of speech, there's a freedom of movement. Absolutely choose to do something. But always remember that your choices have repercussions. Of course you're allowed to choose, but know that choices have repercussions. One of the repercussions is the backlash that is happening now. You look across, this has happened in lots of different sports, pride rounds, or whatever it might be. Why is this being an issue in Sydney, in Australia, in 2022? The players, the coach Des Hasler came out and said that the players should have been consulted about it and things like that, and maybe they should have, but I was never consulted, not once in my 15-year professional rugby league career, about what sponsors were going on the shirt, what colour the shirt would be, what colour the training gear would be, what we did at rugby. That was not how professional rugby league worked when I was playing. So unless it's vastly different in Australia or it's changed, then that's just another bullshit thing to hide behind. I played in a pink t-shirt, pink jersey at Batley Bulldogs, raising money for breast cancer. I wasn't asked about it. It was actually on the week that the story broke about me coming out. So first gay rugby league player in a pink shirt. Like, that was not ideal. Like, I did not want that. But fuck it, that's just part of the gig. It's part of the fucking gig. So decisions have repercussions, and it's really, really important to remember that. So then we come on to this rhetoric that's been spouted out there. You've got to be inclusive unless we don't agree with how you're being inclusive, and then we're going to exclude you. Inclusivity means everybody is welcome, right? That is what inclusiveness means. We include people. Absolutely. We include people in society. We include people in sport. We include people in our lives. We are also allowed to choose to exclude people from society who don't get on the fucking bandwagon. People who are antisocial, people who break laws, people who go against what is the general consensus of how we ought to behave. That's why we have laws. We have unwritten societal laws. You don't just walk up to someone and shout in their face, because that's not you wouldn't get very far in life doing that. So, of course, we want everybody to be included, whether you're religious, whether you're not, whether you're gay, whether you're not, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're an atheist. Whether you like Sudoku or you don't, who gives a fuck? You're all included, provided you can get on board with this code of conduct, this essentially unwritten code of conduct that you're polite and you're accepting of other people's. I am fully accepting of somebody's religion until their religion is not accepting of me as a human being, because I don't get to choose being gay. God knows I tried not to be, because I didn't want to be, because I wasn't comfortable in it, because I grew up in a society where being gay is less than, where being gay is not enough. So when your religion that you choose to believe in, because you are not biologically predetermined to have your religion, says that I'm not equal to you, or I'm not, then yes, I do have a fucking choice with including you. And I do have a problem with including you. Because again, that's not fair. Inclusivity, it's about fairness, it's about equality. And listen, I'm not some communist that sat here going, everybody should be equal and everybody should pay the same. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an equality of respect for one human being to another. Yes, you're allowed your beliefs, and yeah, I might disagree with them, But at least if you have courage in your convictions and you're consistent with them, then I can acknowledge that and I can respect it. But the cherry picking and this is a left-wing authoritarian regime that's just trying to, like, what is authoritarian? What is an authoritarian regime that wants people to be treated equally and looked after? I mean, what a horrendous thing to want for civilization. Horrendous. And then you get people coming up with tweets and messages saying, oh, you're just pushing the gay agenda, right? This is one that comes up quite a lot. So let's talk about this. I don't know what the gay agenda is. Like, we're not recruiting. We don't want everyone to be gay. Because, I mean, again, I had a ridiculous tweet. The Bible said it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. And if everybody was gay, then humans would die out. I understand how biology works. Nobody wants everybody to be gay. Like, nobody wants that. Maybe Lady Gaga. Nobody wants that, realistically. That's not what the gay agenda is, that everybody we should all be gay. That's preposterous. What we want is just to be treated equal and given a fair shot. And this is where the bit where I can cite that there are still countries where you can be executed for being gay. There are still countries where it's criminal to be gay and you can be locked up. But you've heard all that before. What I'm talking about with this, about equality, you've got equality isn't just equal marriage and being able to have kids and not being sacked because of your sexuality. It's about not feeling like a second-class citizen. It's about not having to check yourself. It's about not having to think, oh, can I hold my boyfriend's hand here? Or is someone going to say something? Is someone going to look funny? Is someone going to give me some shit? It's about not having to decide, oh, will I get grief for wearing that t-shirt? Will people think that it's too, he's gay because he's wearing that? Am I going to get stuff thrown at me? Hate crimes are on the rise. Now, granted, I'm 6'4". I'm 120 kilos. That's probably not going to happen to me. But the little gay kids, the little gay guys, that's who it is happening to. They're the guys that have to check themselves. What should I wear this? Can I wear this? Can I? What about when people say, you're at your barber's and say, how's it going with your girlfriend? Or you've been doing loads of shagging lately or whatever, and you think, do I respond to this? Do I say, oh, actually, I'm gay? Like, because what's the response? How's that going to change the conversation? How's this person good? Not knowing how somebody is going to react to you because of who you biologically are is not a nice position to be in. And that is why we still need pride. And that is why we still need these pride rounds. Because no straight person has ever been sacked for being straight, has ever been beaten up for being straight, has ever been kicked out of their house by their parents for being straight, has ever not been allowed to do something because they're straight, has ever been murdered and called a faggot repeatedly because they're straight. And that we still live in that world where that happens. And it is important to remember that, and that's why, as serious as this issue is, I tried to bring a bit of humour to it, and I did a tweet that said that these players drawing a line at wearing a rainbow on their shirt when there's a lot gayer things going on in a changing room, in a rugby league changing room, and there literally is people wafting the cocks around. All sorts of stuff, people messing about. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anybody's gay. Just lads dicking about, literally. But it was just a bit of tongue. It was a tongue-in-cheek tweet. And then I get loads of messages saying, "You're part of the problem." You're part of the problem. It's demeaning to gay people. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's just a bit. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. When this talk about me or somebody speaking out being part of the problem, whether that's people who, sometimes it comes from gay people and sometimes it's people who cite that they've got gay friends and you're part of the problem. So there's two ways that the gay people that say that I'm part of the problem by talking about this, by making people aware, it's because you're making noise and you're drawing attention and we should be happy with what we've got. Or it's the other side, well, I've got gay friends and they're all right, and you're banging your drum and you're making me feel uncomfortable. Well, fuck those people. Because LGBT hate crimes are still happening in 2022. in the Western world, in, modern civilization. LGBT mental health issues are through the roof, disproportionately affected, whether it's younger people, older people. LGBT suicides are disproportionately higher than their straight counterparts. And this is part of the reason why. And if you are actively choosing to not welcome LGBT people into your workplace, into a stadium, into a sport, then you are taking some kind of piss-weak, neutral Switzerland stance where you sit on the fence, you get splinters in your ass because you are scared of upsetting some people with outdated, bigoted views. You are perpetuating the issue. Make a stand, have some fucking balls. We shouldn't need a pride jersey. We shouldn't need pride parades, pride protests, but we do. And we can't just skip ahead to the part where we don't, because people need to go along that. Unfortunately, people need to go along that journey to be shown that we, as gay people, as LGBT people, we are just humans who want to get on with our life and not have to fucking feel like shit for existing. And that might sound quite extreme, but that's not how I feel on an individual basis, but it's how a lot of people feel. A lot of people who don't have a platform, a lot of people who don't have a voice. And to sit there and say, everything's okay, and it's not. Look at the stats, what can't speak can't lie. The stats on suicides, mental health issues, what's going on, LGBT participation in sports. Look at the stats. They tell you a story, and you can either choose to ignore it or choose to get on board with it. And you might be saying, well, you know what? Yeah, you're right, Keegan, but is it a player's responsibility to champion diversity? And I think that's a really good question. So the Manly skipper, Daly Cherry Evans, who I think has handled himself really well throughout this, the team lost their game Thursday night to Sydney Roosters. He's obviously he's had a hell of a lot to manage. He's got to captain his team. He's got to get through a game. He's got all this stuff going on off field. And as players, all you want to do is play the game. That's all you want to do. You want to play the game that you love. You want to do well for your team. That's what any professional athlete wants, right? He said, he then said, obviously he's had a lot of pressure with what's going on in his team have. He's asked, is it his team's, his sports, my sports responsibility? And he said their changing room is inclusive. Our sport is inclusive, but it's not perfect. Okay? And I agree, it's not perfect. But that means that we need to keep moving then, doesn't it? We need to keep moving forward. As I said earlier, clubs, sports around the world are doing this and it's not an issue. People are putting rainbow laces in, having rainbow things on their jerseys. I think Keithley Cougars just had a full pride shirt this year. Like, why is it not an issue in Keithley, in the fucking back end of West Yorkshire, but it is an issue in cosmopolitan metropolis Sydney in Australia in 2022? Quite a bit of disparity there, yeah? So here's the deal as an athlete, as any person with any level of notoriety, whether you like it or not. If you are a person of notoriety, you are a role model, whether you like it or not. And as such, people take their lead from you. Especially, this is, very true for professional athletes, whether they want to wear the same boots as you, whether they want to have the same haircut as you, and sometimes they want to have the same opinions as you on what you speak out about or choose not to speak out about. Visibility and representation matters, and it cuts both ways. If you come out and you say, I support this Pride round, I support LGBT people being welcome in our game, in our stands, in our community, you are encouraging and emboldening LGBT people and people associated with them. You are welcome. You come in. You also discourage people with outdated, bigoted views that don't want to associate or be around LGBT people. Good. That's a good thing. But if you go the other way, as I said, it cuts both ways. So if you say, we don't want you guys here, then what that does is, it pushes all those guys away, the LGBT community, the people that go with them, absolutely. But it emboldens and encourages people who do have the bigoted views, who don't want to be, and suddenly you end up with dickheads in the game, and the friendly, diverse, inclusive fan base that rugby league has is not there anymore. Okay, so is it a player's responsibility? No, it's not. It's not just the player's responsibility. They do have a level of responsibility, 100%. It is the roles of the clubs, the directors, the players, the staff to lead the way. They are the professionals. They are the pinnacle of the game. They are the beacon of the game. But it is the responsibility of the grassroots establishments, whether it's the governing bodies, whether it's the clubs. It is their job to cultivate a zero tolerance of discrimination on and off the field, because there is no hierarchy of discrimination, and we must be vigilant. We want to encourage gay kids to come and play rugby league so that they go on and they become athletes, because when I'm telling you now, when there's gay athletes playing on the reg, then this becomes a complete non-issue. We don't need to have pride rounds, and we don't need to have pride jerseys, because that is inclusivity when you've got straight and gay kids. And do you know what? You might not get as many gay kids. There's not a lot of the proportions, the statistics of gay people in society. Where we are a minority, there's not a lot of us. But they are put off of sport because of the environment, because it's not welcoming. It's our job in this sport to encourage everybody. And people say rugby league's not political. Fucking bullshit, rugby league is not political. Rugby league in England started because the working class split away from the upper class because they couldn't afford to not be paid. It is political. It's always been political. And still, we still have this north-south divide in the UK. And, you know, setting up in Australia and everything that's gone on. Rugby league is founded in political discourse. So, at the end of the day, what this manly shirt has done, ultimately, has meant that this has shown us just how far we still have to go with some of the vitriol and the vile comments and things that go on. And I know Twitter is not a nice place, but just people's general lack of, and I'm going to say intolerance. I hate the word tolerance. I, as a human being, should not be tolerated because I'm gay. Tolerated is something that you don't like that you put up with. Tolerance is not a nice word. I just am. I exist, and that's it. Like, it's okay to like or dislike me on an individual basis, but the fact that I'm gay should not come into that. And unfortunately, it does. And there was a tweet that somebody said, well, you know, there's lots of religious people in the world, and this is just always going to be an issue, so we should just leave it alone. Again, that's a bullshit, piss-weak attitude. People said the same about women's votes. Women will never be able to vote. You should just leave it. They said that about, poor kids shouldn't be able to go to university. That's just how it is. We'll just leave it. Bullshit. Bullshit. Just because something is how it is doesn't mean it should stay how it is, because it's going to be difficult to get there. What the fuck is the type of attitude is that? Absolute shit. Absolute shit. This has shown just how far we need to go. This has shown just how much work there still is to do in sport and in society in general. At the end of the day, these comments, these actions might be throwaway to one person, yeah? They might be a throwaway thing, but to somebody else, they can be profoundly impactful. They can profoundly impact somebody's mental health or even their life. And at the end of the day, we are all human beings just trying to do our best. And as a wise man once told me, it's nice to be nice. So that's my take on it. I've tried to be as balanced as I could. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on the issue, on the podcast. Do you still feel that this is an issue, or do you feel that this is, a flash in a pan, or do you feel like it's part of something that is going on in wider society? I would love for you to leave your comments, share this. Let's have this conversation. Because long form conversations are the way to go when we're talking about nuanced issues, not on Twitter in 180 characters. So I'd love to hear what you think, especially if you disagree with me. So thank you. Give us a follow, share this, and thank you, and I'll see you next week on the Hirst Locker.